Alright guys, so in this video, as the title may have suggested, I'm going to be taking you guys through the process through which I went through to create the animation that I posted recently called Night Beamer with the BMW M4. So I'm just going to take you guys quickly through a few scenes that I created in Blender, and at the end of it, I'm going to give you guys a bit of a tip on how to animate your cameras to make it look lively. So let's get started on this. I'm going to go over to the first scene, which is this. So this was one of the scenes in the beginning, if you remember it. So this scene over here is just this simple setup over here. Okay, just a few buildings and what do you call it, a street lamp over here. I'm not going to render this out. I'm just going to be showing you guys this so you can see what the scene looks like. So just a street light here, and then a what do you call it, an area lamp a spot lamp to mimic to sort of give this lighting effect to the street lamp, because the street lamp is not lighting itself. There's a mesh in there acting as what do you call it, acting as the bulb, but that's not what is lighting the scene. All right, so what is lighting the scene is a spot lamp. All right, so let's move on with this. Now this is just a basic scene. If we go into the camera and then I play this for you to see, you'll notice it's just a zoom pan sort of camera effect, which was one of the effects in the animation. So that pretty much most of the beginning was made in this area, if you quite remember it. This red light over here, and then I used an HDR, a night HDR, to sort of illuminate the whole scene a bit. So let's move on to the next scene. So the second scene, also in the same area, right? So this is a part where the car was driving over the ramp. I remember in my previous animation, the one called the Rivals, people were like, I didn't have the, I didn't animate the suspension at all. So I wanted to show you guys how I could achieve that in this one. It wasn't too much of a complicated suspension, but it's animated. It's not a rigged vehicle. I did not rig the vehicle at all. So this pretty much, you can see, I animated that using the bounce effect. If I go in here, I'm going to show you guys real quick in the graph editor. I think it's what do you call it? Is it this? Yeah, so you can see the bounce here. I changed the effect from here to be a bounce. You can do that over here, right here, bounce. That's what I used. Or is it bounce? No, I think it's elastic. I used elastic instead, not bounce, to sort of give it that effect you're seeing as it goes over the ramp, like that. So yeah, that does it for the second scene. Let's go over to the third scene. Is it this one? Yeah. So the third scene pretty much is just a view from the back here, and a cool animation as the car pulls off right here. So it's nothing pretty major. All right, so if you take a look, if you paid attention to the animation here, you can see as the car moves, the camera pulls back a bit, right, before the car starts moving. But this camera is actually parented to the cube empty here, okay, which is controlling the entire car. So if I move this empty, you can see the camera moves along with it, just like that. So basically, when I parented it to it, and then I played the animation, it wasn't feeling lively, all right? It wasn't feeling the way I wanted it to. So I had to animate the camera a bit and make it sort of pull back when the car starts moving, just to give it sort of the effect of, what do you call it? Like maybe the cameraman was moving a bit late after the car started moving, you know, just to give it that effect. So that's why I did that. So I just animated it to pull back a bit. If you take a look over here, you can see it pretty much well. You see that? Just like that. Just like that. So that was what I tried to achieve over there, just to give it that cool effect. Now let's go over to the next scene, which I think would be this one. It's one of the highway scenes, and also with a bunch of these buildings, nothing really complicated, as you can see, just like that. And yeah, so these buildings, these building models are not mine. My friend actually bought them online, so I borrowed them from him. And yeah, that was what I used in the video. So let's move on to the next scene, which is this one pretty much. So I'm just gonna go back to the beginning of the animation. The animation back here. And I will take a look at the camera, which brings me to the tip I wanted to give you guys. I wanted to give it at the end of the video, but I'm gonna give you guys right now. It's pretty much how you animate your camera in a scene like this. Okay, so maybe your vehicle is moving, you want to animate the cam. The easiest way out is to parent the camera to the empty, okay, so that the camera can follow the empty anywhere it goes. Okay, so right now it's not parented to it because I figured it's a bit too what do you call it, too straightforward, not too the way that I want it. I'll explain to you guys to understand. So pretty much if you parent it to this object and to this parent to this empty, sorry, when you start playing the animation, the camera is going to move along with it. So I didn't like the effect it gave me. So what I did was I animated the empty on its own, and then I animated the camera on its own. Okay, so to sort of get two different what do you call it, motion. So the motions are independent of each other. Okay, just to give it that effect. Okay, because you can tell me when they're taking a car shot in real life, the car and the camera are moving dependently, if you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, pretty much I decided to make the movements independent, so I animated the camera separately and animated the car separately. So if you take a look, you can see, especially in this scene right here, I did that specifically for this scene because as you take a look at it, you can see the car pulls closer to the cam and then slows down, and then the cam pulls forward a bit farther than the car, and then the car pulls closer, and then eventually it passes the cam. So if I had parented it to this, it would have been, I mean, if I had parented to the empty, you would have still found a way out, but it would have been a bit sort of complicated than to just animate the camera separately on your own, right? So that's pretty much most of what I did in this animation. I animated the cam separately from the empty, and yeah, pretty much went straight forward from there. And if I move on to the next scene, which is I think this one right here, which was a pretty simple scene, about 90 frames, where the car pulls to the right and then pulls back to the left like this. So you can see I animated the suspension as well. If you take a look at the car, you can see it raises and then, I mean, it drops and then raises a bit. That's pretty much all I did here. I just pulled this, rotated in the y-axis like this, just to animate that thing just like that, to make it look much more realistic. So if I play it one more time, you can see how it looks. And now for the final scene, which is it the final scene? Yeah, the final scene, where the car is behind the camera here. Okay, so this one as well, I animated the where is it? Right here. I animated the camera separately from the empty right here. So if you take a look, you can see the cam is not parented to the empty. And I think is the best way to animate your cams in situations like this. Animate it separately from the empty you're working with. It makes it look much more realistic. Okay, so the emotions are independent. And that brings us to the last scene, and pretty much the tip that I wanted to give you guys. So before I leave, this is not actually an in-depth tutorial to help you guys animate. This is just to show you what I did in the 9beamer animation, but I'm going to be giving you guys an in-depth tutorial on how to animate stuff like this sometime in the future. Okay, because right now I'm pretty preoccupied. That's why I can make you guys some tutorial. That's why I wanted to rush through this one, to just give you guys something out there to just watch, and just something, because it's been a while since I made a tutorial, and that's because I've been quite busy. Our school is closed down due to this COVID-19 pandemic out there, and I'm pretty much at home. My mouse fell down quite recently before they put us under lockdown, so I couldn't go out to get a new one or anything of that sort. So I was stuck without a mouse for quite some time. It's one of the reasons I'm not creating any tutorials. But recently I found a way out, and that is to move what was actually wrong with my mouse is the middle mouse click wasn't working. So I moved the middle mouse click to the button on the side. There's usually buttons on the side of this mouse that I buy. I usually get buttons on the side, so I moved that click to the side, and I found it's quite efficient than having it in the middle. That is what I kept using. So expect more tutorials very soon now that I've fixed my mouse. But other than that, yeah, that's the reason why I couldn't make much tutorials lately. And there'll be more tutorials on the way. So yeah, I think I'll end it here. And before I go, I don't know if this happens to you guys. Most of the times when I'm working in Blender and then I sort of pull away from it for a while to do something else on the computer, what happens is when I come back, it sort of looks like it has glitched. Even though it hasn't frozen, it just looks glitched. Sort of the surface looks sort of glitched, but it's still working normally until I sort of refresh it, and then everything goes back to normal. I don't know if it happens to you guys, but if it does, just leave a comment below just so I know I'm not the only one in this. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I will see you guys in the next video.